It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. If you would like to become a patron, click on the Become a Patron link on the front page of the Geocache Talk website or head over to patreon.com/Geocache Talk for more details. Patrons get the now famous blackout coins and other geocaching items during the year. Support levels start as low as the Bison Tube level, which is only $3 a month.
All right. Big thanks to Derek.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Derek.
But you have an announcement here in a little bit that whole thing there needs to change.
Okay. It does. Big thanks to Derek, Baker Six Clan, and our featured patrons and Spire crew, Scrabble Hounds, Jinxer05, Float Your Goat, Just Be, Baker Six Clan, Little Black Dog, Irish Allen, R Cool and PJ Cool 711, CJ Hove, and our new patrons, TKD Scouter, Tax Pro RGV, Dana, I forgot to write down her. I'll find it in a minute. Kazoo Otters, Homer CF, BA Wag 75, Roomba Cats, and Stark AZ, as in I think Arizona, if I'm correct. All right, let's jump right into show 248 as we discuss Lincoln Highway, Route 66, Trans Canada, Europe, beyond, and so forth. So, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And let's go around the room. And if you would introduce yourselves, please, for the audience.
Well, everybody knows who I am, so we'll go ahead and jump over here to Scott.
Okay.
Scott?
Okay, I'm Scott, GSM times 2 from Ojai, California, and really excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. First time, I think, is the first time you're on?
First time.
But you've been listening for a while.
I have, but let's not discuss that. Let's get on with the show.
We won't get into
Scott's going to keep
ages.
us on topic tonight.
We were talking before the show about age stuff, so we're not going to do that tonight. So Scott and I are not going to mention that anymore. All right. Over to go down the room. Go to Ian. Go ahead, Ian.
Yep. I am Ian. Username is OnABoat. I am from Northeast Ohio. That's me.
There
I'm
you
just
are.
a guy. There you
Perfect.
Go that way.
Over to this guy, Kyle.
I'm KC11 from the Chicago suburbs, and I organize the Lincoln Highway Adventure Series.
Kyle having a little bit of audio issues, but we'll work through it. LA.
Dana Lay from Nebraska, and I'm John and Leon and the Geocats.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, bear with us if we have any kind of technical difficulties. We'll just work on through it. So, all right. Well, let's get into a little bit of news. Okay. We'll get through some news. I think we have some cool stuff to talk about in news. And it's not just all announcements, but a couple things that we want to mention tonight. One, and we won't really get into this tonight, but we wanted to at least mention it. Project GC map update. I don't know if people are aware or use Project GC. I know Scott's a big GSAC fan, so I don't know if GSAC. I don't think they're going to have to do whatever Project GC did. Do you think, Scott? I think they're okay county wise, don't you think?
Don't know.
Yeah, but
Don't know.
I didn't know that they were going to do this, and then apparently there was a lot of chatter about problems with people's numbers, especially the county folks. People are trying to get a cache in every county, wherever, and they were noticing that they were missing things. South Carolina was a good example. Back in Derek's old stomping grounds, apparently the oldest active in South Carolina moved. It didn't really move, but as far as Project GC is concerned, it now is in a different county, which is weird to think about because how did their update change so much? But anyway, there was a bunch of changes that were made, I guess, to fix. I think it was to fix. So apparently they were off on their app was different than because the county lines obviously didn't move around the world. But anyway, some people had basically lost counties. They'll have to go back and find different caches for the counties they're missing. It's just an odd. It was really a strange deal. But anyway, there's more info. There's more info from the show notes. We're not going to go into that tonight. We've got too many things to cover. So there you go.
Right. It didn't change any of y'all for Texas for the Texas Challenge, right?
It did not. I went and checked mine, and all mine are fine. What's interesting too, though, that we mentioned a minute ago, which was I did have one cache I found, or Susan and I found. It was pretty close to the county line, but apparently we skipped or we dodged a bullet there, and the county stayed, or the cache stayed in that county, so we're good there. So
good deal.
Next, the next couple are pretty quick. One is the current coins that we are that we just made. There you go. All those coins, for the most part, that Derek is showing, other than the blackout coin. So if you look around, the
gold one,
the gold one doesn't count either, but the others, challenge one, puzzle, gadget, geocaching with kids, and the new, as Charles would call it, the plain old Sunday show. That one, that is it. We bought one run of them, and we all made the decision that we're not going to make any more. So good news for those that have them, because they're going to be somewhat rare. Only 100 of them were going to be made. So if you'd like to buy one, by all means,
the store.
Get after it if you want, or buy it at CoinFest if you want to. Anyway.
Yep.
All right.
Where's Jesse?
Jesse, good question. So people are asking.
He has not been fired for wearing a fanny pack, just to let you know.
Yeah, Direwolf. Yeah, Jesse's no longer on the show. No, he is not on tonight's show. He traveled just to visit family, and he had a stop. He went to Ohio, had a stop in Detroit, and apparently he's in the vortex known as the Detroit airport, and he can't get out of there. So he couldn't make it tonight. So, so we lost Jesse, but that's okay. Okay.
Gained Derek, so that's a fair
I'm
trade.
here. Yeah,
that's right.
I don't know if that is accurate, but yeah. But we're not building any gadgets tonight. So,
none of that tonight. Okay, but we did build something. Derek, do you want to talk about the next note in the notes?
All right, so we have completely redesigned the wrong. You added it to me when I tried doing it there. We have completely redesigned the website, so you can go and check it out, geocachetalk.com, and it is completely redesigned, and everything is right here. So when we mentioned become a patron, well, hey, guess what? It's right there. Become a patron is right there. All the shows are now in here. A lot more user-friendly. In fact, hey, look, geocaching with kids. You can finally find the audio for geocaching with kids on here.
Yay.
And then, of course, we have our calendar, and actually a calendar event. So, hey, guess what's coming up on Tuesday? We got Gadget Talk.
Yay.
So all that, and then the host bios are right here, and our sponsors. So everything is right here, pretty much on the front page. And then, of course, then we have our books, resources, and then there's another link up here for something else that Gary, you're going to talk about.
Yes, I wanted to mention that we are starting to actively recruit for a social media manager, and the notes are now up on the website to give you more information about that. So if you're interested, feel like that you can handle social media based on what we've written in the notes we have there. You could be anywhere in the world. So don't feel like you have to be in the US or Canada. You could be anywhere. So open to anyone who meets the criteria. We will, if you send an email to geocachetalk@gmail.com, then we can. Oh, we both hit at the same time.
Well, you hit Gadget Talk.
Podcast.
It's not that one.
Not that one. Geocachetalk@gmail. It's this one.
Different
Geocachetalk@gmail.com. And we will discuss further. So that is that. Read the notes. Check it out. And that's it. Scott, we're done. 11 minutes into the show. We're done with notes. It's awesome.
That's amazing.
You're just so funny. All right.
Well done.
Thank you, sir. I'm trying to be very careful of those kind of things. So,
Sorry.
you can be a Walmart greeter. Yeah, there you go. Is the pay really good? Really, Jessica? You're going to ask us about? I mean, come on. Sorry, we're clicking on it. Is the pay really good? It's more of a love for the show than it is for.
It's geocaching. Who gets paid for geocaching?
Yeah, unless you're Flieger over in Germany, or you work at HQ. I guess one of the two of those. So,
Scott, you get paid for geocaching? That's nice.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah, we.
That's for another show.
That's for another. That's for another show. Okay. All right, we're going to talk. I think we'll start. Really, Lincoln Highway, I think, is where we want to start. And we'll kind of work our way around to some other items. I know we're going to get to Route 66 for sure, and I'm sure we'll get to the others too. But Lincoln Highway, in case you are unfamiliar with the Lincoln Highway, we do have in the show notes information about it. So if you want to read, and it's really fascinating, we really appreciate the folks on the show tonight who provided information about the Lincoln Highway. Yeah, life is a highway. UDAC. Thank you. That was good.
Great. Now that song's stuck in my head.
Yeah, that's right. Lincoln Highway is an interesting story, but yet I think it really lent itself to making some adventure labs. We're going to try Kyle. So Kyle, we're going to try your connection, buddy, and see if we can hear you talk about a little bit about Lincoln Highway as best you can. We'll see if your connection holds up.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're kind of cutting in and out. Yeah, no, it's maybe try your phone. Maybe have you come back on with your phone. So we'll come back to Kyle. We'll go talk about some other things too about this. I know Ian, I think you were part of when we did Worldwide Cache Con. Well, I think you were on with Jeff, right? Were you on with that?
Yeah,
well?
Kyle invited me to come be a part of that with him and Jeff, and we kind of talked a little bit about the Lincoln Highway back then.
Right.
And so hopefully a lot of people have had a chance to do it since then. But when was it? That was January?
Yeah.
God, man, it feels like it was like yesterday.
Feels like it was just the other day.
Right.
I'm going to bring, while you kind of talk about it, I am going to bring up the map just so that you can kind of talk through part of because it's,
Sure.
I was surprised, at first I was like, oh, this is great. Even back in January, I was like, oh, this would be great. And you're like, no, we've gotten quite a bit of it done. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So yeah. So here's the,
I got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's crazy to look at on a map.
It is. I mean, really is when you start to look at how much of it is filled in. I mean,
yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
Isn't that cool? Now, I like that whoever's doing the map, because you can really get a feel for a couple things. Number one is you can see where, like, we'll start at the beginning, or at least close to the beginning. You can see where it lists all the little green dots, and we're audio listeners just have to. We'll try to paint the picture for you.
But it's going to work better if you come and watch it.
Yeah, it will. But we'll paint the picture best we can. So the green dots are the actual, or is an actual lab cache, and then you can see on the map the green icon. I'll scroll into an icon so you can see. So the green icon with the
right, with the little venture logo type.
Little venture logo.
Thing,
Yeah. So they give you an idea of that. So, and if you look at a lot of it really is filled in, and from what I understand, or let me ask you, Ian, do you know, are we at a point where pretty much everybody that's going to contribute is put theirs on the map, you think, or?
I believe so. Kyle would have to confirm when he comes back.
Actually, I've been talking to Kyle about this, and
Yeah,
I think he has over 100, and I think there's like 5 to 7 people who still need to get their adventures put together.
Okay,
but
cool.
It really, give Kyle a real big hand for coming up with this concept, even if it was kind of accidentally. He thought, well, I'll go ahead and do this in Illinois. I see some parks here, and I'm just going to kind of connect the Lincoln Highway. And then, as I understand it, or as he told me, some people from Iowa said, hey, this sounds cool. Can we get in it? And then Jeff from GCHQ got in and said, hey, this sounds really cool. Let's see what we can do here. And so Kyle started out with a little tiny bite of the apple, and suddenly he's consuming the whole orchard of apples and doing a great job with it. And so it's pretty close. I think it's very close to being done, and it's going to go all the way from New York to San Francisco, which is what the Lincoln Highway did originally. Was the reason it came in that time is they were having the equivalent of the World's Fair in San Francisco, and they were like, okay, we're going to put this highway together. For the most part, it was west of the Mississippi. It was nothing more than a line on a map. It was not a paved highway in any way, shape, or form.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing in the chat room, a lot of people are asking about that map. How can they get the map to see where everything's at? Is that a cache tour, or what's that in? That you guys did that?
It's on our, well, that was built with Google My Maps by a cacher. They put that together and sent it to Kyle, and Kyle sent it to me, and then we added it to the makeshift Lincoln Highway GC.org website that's half built. Someday I'll finish building it.
Okay.
And
it's okay. Yeah, Lincoln Highway.
But the map is there. The map is there, and some info's there. So
perfect.
Okay, and then we just dropped the link in the chat itself, so you can go check that out there as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're just looking at a sterile. I'll use the term because sterile map, but there's so much that has been done, and I want to get to LA here in a minute to talk about her part too, but. It's amazing if you go in and just sort of pick up an adventure lab and sort of read about it a little bit. I'll tell you real quick as I scroll in. My aunt and uncle lived most of their life in Little Woodbine, Iowa, and there's Woodbine. And I went and did some reading today about these different ones, and so. You can go and look at the historic grain elevator, but Mary Brook School Museum, and then along the brick road, the longest part of the Lincoln Highway's brick road that still survives is here in good old Woodbine, Iowa. Population of about 1,000, but it's just neat to have been, because I remember as a kid visiting my and uncle in Woodbine, Iowa, and I remember that road. I remember going and seeing the brick road that was still there. They've done a little bit of renovation, but there is so much history that has been sort of captured through this process of the Adventure Labs, and a lot of things that I think is really cool that the research has been done. So big thanks to all the cache owners out there who have built along this. So it's really thankful. So LA, you're in Nebraska,
Right.
and you have been able to help. And so you've, what parts of the Lincoln Highway have you done, and what is sort of your experience with building some of the Adventure Labs along that?
Well, my newest one that actually just came out about an hour ago.
Yay!
Fresh one.
I have two sections. The next one is Iowa. It goes from Jordan to Jefferson, which is west of Eames. Let me put Wolfie down here. He's kind of heavy.
Okay.
With me, but it goes from Jefferson to Jordan in Iowa. It has an old mill bridge. It has a former motel, period gas station. There's a really cool spot in Ogden that has footprints that go across the Lincoln Highway that somebody went while it was still wet, and they tried to refill it with different grade of concrete, and so you can see footprints.
That's cool.
It was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
We learned about motorcycle track info. There's a big monument that goes a couple blocks long for the Lincoln Highway, and a garden. Historical museum. I mean, it's just tons of cool stuff. Learned about our first lady's birth location, and then there's a big presidential memorial, which is cool. The second section, which is kind of my more established one and closer to home, because Lincoln Highway actually passes about a block from my house.
Wow.
Oh wow.
That's cool.
When Kyle was talking about it, I go, well, I'm a block away. So that one goes from Boys Town in Omaha,
Right.
which has two statues, one in Omaha, one in Fremont, all the way to Fremont. And it includes the longest remaining brick section left in the country is actually in Omaha.
Oh, wow.
Almost 4 miles long.
That's awesome.
They moved it to Blair and took all the monuments with it, and so it just got preserved. So it's still there, which is cool. There's an old bank. I got a little bit of humor mixed in there on one of the stages. I get a lot of comments on that, on one of those like random things that I found.
Oh, good.
Vintage vehicle, oldest structure. The one that's a block for me, the oldest structure in Dodge County, a train depot, opera house, vaudeville theater. I mean, just tons of stuff. There's a explosion. The one in Iowa also had a tornado, which is kind of cool. So I got that in there.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Anyway, one of the biggest things was there's a mansion museum in Vermont, and they were really cool to let me use their lands, and there's also a decorated ammo can for the bonus. So I did some really neat equipage, and it's in a really cool spot, and I'm very excited about that. But some of my lab answers were really small because I didn't want people to be able to like just look them up and stuff. So I made a separate web page and took pictures of each location and put little hints in there, and erased it and said it's right here and circled it so they know exactly where to go. So
very cool.
Even though it's a 30-minute drive, I want people to really enjoy it and get some favorites. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Love it.
No, that's awesome. Again, that's my I had a lot of my mom and dad grew up in Omaha, so we remember the days. And Scott, I'm gonna have to go. I'm putting the Wayback Machine. I shouldn't do that, but when I was a kid and I visited them, we would go out to go to Exarban. We go to Peony Park, all these places that. But if you were to drive out, we had relatives that lived out by Boys Town. Well, Boys Town back then, out in the middle of nowhere. And of course now it's probably all part of the city sort of built all the way out to Boys Town, which is crazy. It's like 150 53rd Street or some kind of crazy, I don't know what number is out there. They kept numbering the streets, which I think is hysterical too. Most towns stop. Omaha didn't stop. They just kept numbering them. So I don't know what's the furthest out there. Do you think, LA?
It's 200 and something.
I live on 250. It's just, it's kind of insane.
It's
But
crazy.
But when you're talking about that, what's interesting, and I'm sure we'll get this from everybody else as well tonight, but seeing you talk about it, you can see the your interest. Really, you can see the sparkle in your eye as we talk about these various things that we all sort of know and love. And so I think it's neat that we have all sort of been able to, hopefully everybody, at least I know folks on here probably have, but we can talk about the fact that you were able to sort of share something with people about something that you kind of find interesting, or a love memory from the past, or not necessarily that, just that, like you said, you put a little humor in there too. That's just neat. I think that's a great thing that you did with your little section of it. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean, there's 95 people
Mm-hmm.
95 geocachers have gotten involved in this. 112 adventures. They're not called labs anymore, just so you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The old term.
We're going to have a hard time adapting there. But there's 112 adventures. There's 95 people who have gone into their town or into an area on the Lincoln Highway and found interesting and things for people to share with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a team effort. I mean, can you imagine? We're on a team of 95 people.
Wow.
We're one team connecting everything from New York to San Francisco.
Wow.
That's such a
That's crazy.
special feeling. It is.
No, that's great. That's Scott is seeing what I think hopefully others will see as well. And that's just that, not only a lot of effort, but just the neat camaraderie of putting this together. And, be neat to hear a story of anybody who actually makes the full trip. I know people do, we'll talk about Route 66 here in a minute, because there's a lot of good stories there too. But it's a long
haul.
New York to San Francisco, and we're not talking super highway here. In fact, the ones on, Woodbine, that's Highway 30 there is a little, that was a highway, more like a probably farm to market 30. But anyway, I think there's something about that. And I think this is the same kind of sort of nostalgia that could be experienced. And we'll get into Route 66 actually here in a minute. Maybe we'll do that here in a second. What are some other things that we want to bring up about the Lincoln Highway portion of it? Because I think that's so Kyle, let's see if we get Kyle back, or we'll try it now. Kyle, let's see if we can hear you now, buddy. He's gonna try it. Can you hear us?
I hear a little bit. Kyle, can
All
you
right,
hear us?
guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, much better.
All right. Sorry, I had to get a different device here.
That's okay.
All right.
So we'll backtrack a little bit, because we've been talking about and getting excited about Lincoln Highway, but let's kind of go back. And I know you've mentioned this before, but I know some people may not have heard it. But tell everybody how this whole thing even came about. Where's the genesis of it?
All right. So last year, I think it was May or June, I got awarded an Adventure Lab credit, and
Hey.
so I started looking around my area, and I thought, well, all the cool spots are taken. I didn't know what to do. I almost didn't end up using it. I was just going to let it go.
Right.
But, I went to my local park, and I started looking at different things. I thought about doing a lab at the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came across this Lincoln Highway gazebo that was there, and when I saw that gazebo, it triggered a memory that I had done a a regular, or actually it was a multi-cache in the neighboring town. It was at a Lincoln Highway gazebo.
Oh, okay.
And from there, I remembered there's what they call a Lincoln Highway shelter at the same park. So then I decided see if I could do something based around the Lincoln Highway. When I got home, I started looking online, doing some research, and I discovered that Illinois had, at one time, they used to have an organization called the Illinois Lincoln Highway Coalition.
Okay.
And back in the early 2000s, they created 35 murals and 16 gazebos, all dedicated to the Lincoln Highway and its history.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up finding a bunch of them were local to me, and decided to make my adventure lab based on that.
Right.
Once I started doing that, I posted online in one of my local Facebook groups, and found a bunch of other cachers that I knew, a bunch of my friends, and they decided that they would help me out, and we kind of see how far we could go with it across Illinois. We started off with 3 or 4, and the word got out, and we turned up having 9 in Illinois, which completed the whole state of Illinois from east to west.
Wow.
And we had 2 people in Indiana that joined in right at the border.
That's cool.
So in August of last year, we had 11 adventure labs all go live at the same time. We kind of kept it under wraps. Just kind of sprung it on the community, popped it out there August 28th, I think, last year.
Right.
And there were 11 adventure labs.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, that's really awesome. So, when did HQ, and especially Jeff, who works for HQ, when did he find out about it, and how did that change things?
It was actually pretty early on in the planning stages. I think I had 4 or 5 adventure labs planned in Illinois.
Okay.
And talking with the local cachers, we thought maybe we could do this across the state. So once we started finding people to recruit to join us for the Illinois series, I started posting online in different Facebook pages, and that's when Gear Guru messaged me and said, "Hey, I'd like to know more about this series you're talking about. Shoot me a message." So sent him an email, and we started talking back and forth. And he said, "Well, if you can do this, this sounds really cool. I can upgrade everybody's labs from 5 stages to 10."
That's
So
awesome.
once the word got out there that people could do 10 stage credits, then everybody wanted to jump on board, and we got the entire state of Illinois done.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just and then from there, of course, I don't how it's like, was it your idea, or was somebody commented to you and said, "Let's do the whole thing. What the heck? Let's just go for the gusto, and let's just do all of it."
When we announced the 11 original series, the original 11 of them,
Right.
I made a Facebook post and said, check this out. We got 11 adventure labs based on the Lincoln Highway.
Right.
And people just started commenting on it, and they asked if we were going to plan on doing it coast to coast.
Right.
And I said, well, ideally that would be really cool. I just don't know how we would do it and who would organize it and all that. But people just started messaging me and said, "Hey, I'm in this state. I'm in this state. I can do a lab if you can get me a credit." So I was talking to Jeff at HQ, and he started giving people, actually upgrading at that time, anyone who had an adventure lab credit.
Right.
He upgraded them to 10 stages for them. And
Right.
from there, it just kept snowballing. And now today we have 108 labs that are live, and we'll end up with about 112 by the time we're done. We got about 4 people still left to go, but we're getting really close.
112. That is awesome.
Yeah, because Teresa was asking how many
Yay.
are on there, so we just got her answer: 112.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That is wonderful. What other, have you gotten any other feedback now that it's sort of grown to pretty much the whole Lincoln Highway? Has Has Jeff gotten back to you at all about, or I guess my question is Jeff gotten back to you as far as like the reaction from HQ or from Brian or anybody else as far as how they feel like? I mean, are they pretty pleased with it, or have they said anything to you about it?
Just I've seen Brian on the other podcast, and he said, they're pretty excited about it. It's pretty cool how it started from just a couple labs and went to across the whole country. But haven't really heard anything else otherwise.
Right. Well, something we were talking about before the show. Scott and I were talking about how people have different reactions to Adventure Labs. I think. On the positive side, one of the things that comes to mind, and we'll get everybody's sort of maybe some thoughts on this as well, but the fact that you can do so many different things, it's almost like a blank slate. I mean, we've had R. Reagan on the show and talked about how he creates these awesome Adventure Labs that are not history related, which is fine. I mean, it's a different perspective on Adventure Labs. So he builds these stories, these true adventures, for these adventures that are now called adventures. And I'm a big history buff, so I love when you can do something that's more like a history lesson, which I love. Some people don't like that. I love it. Susan did one in Abilene, and it is more of a hers is based on literature. Abilene is the storybook capital of the world, or the U.S., I guess you could say, or at least that's what they say. But hers was based on, instead of history, hers is based on literature. But if you think about it, so many people who have Adventure Labs and haven't done theirs yet, this is a great chance to think outside the box and maybe think of something. If you want to be involved in something like this, those are options, but also, there's some other things you can do with adventures. So,
yeah. And I know HQ is really pushing the whole adventure platform, and now that you can find them in their native app. I know Cashley's talking about they're going to be moving it over where you can actually see the icon, which is really great. But the whole being able to tell the story, and that's what they really love about this new app. And they were talking about that in their latest podcast that they had as well, right. Going into that. So that was really, I have one here with Elvis. Of course, I'm in Memphis. Can't have a adventure without having Elvis in Memphis. So there's a lot of, then there's like 7 or 8 now, I think it is here in Memphis. So yeah, it's just seeing them all pop in a lot. It was really great. I have an adventure lab, and so does my daughter, ready to do. But we're trying to figure out what story do we want to tell here in Memphis. So that's the hardest part. I mean, it's just like placing a regular cache and be able to figure out the story and take them to the location and do it. Do it has to be sequential, or can they go to different places? Do we put in a bonus cache in? What do we do? And so it's just trying to figure out how to tell that story. And I really like how there's so many different ways in doing the Lincoln Highway or even Route 66. There are so many stories on those routes that you guys are being able to tell that story. And I think it's really cool for being able to tell a complete story from New York to San Francisco. I think that's really cool. And I was seeing in here, somebody was figuring it up. 112 adventures at 10 each. I mean, that's, what was it? 1,120 adventure locations.
Right.
That's a lot. That'd take a long trip. They're talking about the bus trip in the chat room. That's going crazy over there trying to figure all that out. That'd be a long trip.
Yeah.
I think we'd be tired of everybody at that point.
I know, LA, you've got something you're working on that's a little different. I mean, we're not, it's not necessarily the topic for tonight, but go ahead and tell people about, you're working on a different kind of adventure lab.
Yeah, you were mentioning different types. I actually have a couple of different ones. I have one already that's a story, and builds the life of this couple that needs to go all the way to the end. I have a new one that is music and cats, and so you go to each location in a park, and you do different music, and so you get the clue, and you have to figure out what song it is, and then you get a clip and a bonus cache, which is, I don't think anybody's found it yet. And then the one that I have to get in now, which is my last one, is one I've been working on for a while, and it's about part of our zombie series. We have this big zombies big series. I've only got about 18 of them out, but this one's got some of the vloggers in this room actually are going to be
cool.
I'm working on the finale. All the videos are done, but we're having some problems getting the final location, so we may have to move it. And I can't wait. Cache Canada's in it, Cache Line's in it, Pathfinder 33, C. Michelle, and Neil Moore are all going to be in there. So
very cool.
Really fun. I can't wait. I know Cal
they love to do that series.
He's like, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? When's it coming out?
Yeah.
And his video is really cute. I can't wait.
That's cool.
They're chomping at the bit to get south of the border. Somebody did mention about going north of the border. I think Butterfly Girl mentioned about. So let's talk about that briefly, and then I want to get into Route 66.
Let's stay back on topic here. Hate to do that to you.
Go ahead. Which one are you talking about?
Well, first I'd like to say one of the things that GCHQ is excited about is they are trying to spread out these adventure labs, and so they're available all over the place. Mm-hmm. What a better way to do that than to follow the Lincoln Highway?
Oh yeah,
or Route 66. Because they're probably not a lot of. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, there's not a lot of adventure labs in those little in those Midwestern states, and now they're spreading them out and getting them in there. My particular one, I had procrastinated. I saw Kyle's posts on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, that sounds really neat. I'd like to get involved in that. But I didn't want to drive all the way to Sacramento, and eventually it kind of seemed to close out. And then I was listening to him on the geocaching podcast, and he mentioned, hey, if you'd like to send me an email, and I'll see if I can get you one. So didn't procrastinate, sent him out one immediately. He had a geocacher who was not performing, was not going to be able to do it. So I wound up getting one on the loneliest highway in America, in Nevada, about the middle of Nevada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so took a nice little trip up there. Today it's the loneliest highway in America. It wasn't back then. The Pony Express ran through there. The Stagecoach ran through. The first transcontinental telegraph system ran through there. So my locations are taking you to those ruins and some other really neat areas, and it's just fabulous. It's 62 miles long.
Wow.
Right, which is one thing that that doesn't happen when you're taking somebody around the park or in town or whatever.
Yeah.
So it presents some challenges. And then when I got home, I realized one of the challenges was that neither AT&T or T-Mobile, they don't even fake that they have coverage in that area.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah. How does that work then?
It actually works very well. The Adventure Lab is actually set up pretty well. I didn't realize this, but I went to do a test, and I loaded in two adventures that were in west of me, about 60 miles.
Right.
Turned off all communications, had loaded them in, and I was able to get the descriptions. I'm able to get the descriptions and the arrows. Can't get the maps, obviously, but get the arrow taking me to the thing. To the GZ, it would go from get closer to answer. The question would pop up.
Oh, right.
I could not answer the questions because those are stored up on the cloud.
Right.
So I just have to, take a lot of pictures, take a lot of notes, make sure that I have it. And then when I would get internet access,
Mhm.
I just had to go back in and resume the adventure.
Right.
And when I went to each one of those, it would say answer, and I could type in the answer and I could answer it and I could get credit. And I did that with 2, trying to be a little conservative about it. The next day, I went out with a friend and, my dog,
Mhm.
went out with my dog who had not done a local adventure,
There you go.
and we challenged it. We turned off everything. We then turned off the phone. We did everything we could to crash this, and it still worked. So,
Yeah.
so that was an important lesson to learn, and makes it so that I can, in fact, do this. People can do this adventure.
It is
If
very
you
cool.
look,
Go
if
ahead.
you look at my description, the first paragraph is, "Be ready, load
Yeah.
it in. This is what's going to happen, and this is how you're going to be able to do this." So that was fantastic.
Yeah,
And
no, that's really cool.
yeah,
That's really. I hadn't heard being able to do it like that before.
yeah,
Yeah, I had heard that, but I'm glad, Scott, that you were able to like literally lab test it, if they want to call it that. You were able to actually, because I'd heard the theory that you could do it that way, but I'm glad that you're able to do that like real time, like actual
lab test, no pun intended, right?
Yeah,
Gary?
lab
Good.
test. No
Yeah.
pun intended. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. So that was the experience. And
Yeah, no,
thanks for letting me share that. And
no,
if you
it's
wanna,
great. That's
if you want to
great.
go on to something else like Route 66, I'd be
Yeah,
glad to
let's
hear about that.
it's related in a sense because again, such great history of the road. You know, a lot of people have probably heard more, or at least it comes up, I think, more in folklore than maybe the Lincoln Highway does. Although I'm really loving the learning about the Lincoln Highway because it's something I wasn't as familiar with. Route 66 has a little more lore, I guess, around it, because of various reasons. But the songs. Go ahead.
The songs, Steinbeck, cars.
Yes.
It's got a little history that people are aware of.
The mother road and
The
all
Mother
various
Road.
things.
So as I'm coming back after doing my adventure lab,
Mhm.
have a 400 JNL I don't live 2 blocks from the Lincoln Highway.
Not
I
like
live
her,
400 miles from it.
Right.
So as I'm driving back, I'm thinking, God, somebody ought to do this on Route 66. Somebody ought to do this on Route 66. And about 100 miles from home, I'm like, Scott, just do this on Route 66. Do it,
Right.
do it, do it.
Do it.
So when I got home, I sent Jeff an email and said, would GCHQ be interested in doing this? And has anybody made an inquiry asking for a friend?
Right.
And he sent back the next day, tell your friend that nobody has inquired about it, and we would be interested in doing it. Again, as Jeff says, as long as people are willing to talk to the local visitor bureaus. And
cool.
yeah, so away we went. And I learned a few things from watching Jeff. One was Jeff was doing all the work, and I didn't want to do that. So first thing I did was reach out to state coordinators. So every state in which it passes through, I contacted a state coordinator.
Right.
Got some, TTO2 is one of my state coordinators. Ryan Semmel is one of my state coordinators.
Right.
Shorty Knits is one of my state coordinators, and all the rest. I feel like I have an all-star team, and I don't have any all-star egos. And then OnABoat, I reached out to him and said, hey, could you put together a Facebook or a web page for me? And boom, just like that. And out of the blue, Kevin McKillen is some random guy, as Kyle called him, some random guy who put together that map for us. And so he's right on top of it. And as of this morning, appropriately, 66 of the 89 have published.
How about
So
that?
66 of the Route 66 and 23 to go. So, yeah, so we're moving right along with that. So, and our webpage is route66gc.org. So easy to remember, Route 66 GC like in geocaching, and .org like it's an orgasmic experience to have this kind of thing going on.
There you go. I put it.
It is.
Yeah. I put it in the it's in the show notes. It's in the I posted in the chat room, and I'm gonna bring up the map too. Not that one. Let me kill that. Go to the real map right here, and Ian did a great job putting all this work, getting some of the website. The website looks great. And again, look at the
close to being done.
It's so awesome to see that.
I'm getting made fun of via text message, by the way, because I haven't gotten it done yet. So that's.
Oh, okay. You're part of it.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're getting my text messages. Thank you. Yes, and if you click on any of those icons of the adventure icons, it'll bring up the page. You can click on it, and it'll bring up the front page, and then just take your phone and read the QR code, and then you can read through and look at all of those adventures. Look at all the locations.
Yeah,
and
that is awesome.
It is amazing.
That's really great.
We have the one that of course comes to mind that I want to share about real quick is Shamrock. This is something that's interesting. When Susan and I were doing the Texas County Challenge, we came through here, and sometimes you forget that you, especially back then, you're just so focused on getting counties. But we stopped at this place right in Shamrock, and it was like, wait a minute, this looks familiar. And it was there's a gas station there that is the You Drop In Cafe, and it was used in Cars. So there's a picture of it right there.
Oh wow!
So from the movie Cars, they took this location and sort of
turned it to Flows.
Animated it.
I think that was Flows.
Yeah, put into right, and so, but such great little spots around. This is just one of many, special on Route 66 that you can go to, and you can see, some cool parts of our nation that, you go, wow, it's cool. We stopped, we talked to people. There's a cache there. We stopped, we talked to people there, and it was kind of a neat little side trip.
Yeah. At this point, we have 542 locations on this route.
Awesome.
Yeah. And you can't really say not everybody did 10. And we incorporated, we had some pre-existing Route 66 adventures out there, and we contacted the people and say, would you be interested in participating in this series? And some of them did, and those are, of course, 5 location adventures.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Yeah. Radiator Springs, you mentioned, from Cars. So
no, that'd be cool.
You said 562? Is that what you said?
542. 542 right now.
That's crazy, man. It's like it's only half the country too. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's only 2,000 miles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's wild. Anyway, carry on. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No, that's
appreciate you. Was this good? A good thought that Jeff had, which was, you could, and I think people have done this too, Jeff, where they will rent a car in like Chicago. I think it's the more famous spot, I think, Ian, and then they usually start in Chicago, or at least a lot of them do.
Yeah.
And they'll rent and I think there's some places too where you can rent like an iconic old car.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can then take it all the way to LA, and you can drop it off there, with obviously with the proper rental car rules, and then you can fly home. But there you go. You can, I'm sure you could do something similar with Lincoln Highway too, probably. But
I'm aware of one team from
Okay.
my area who's planning on doing that. I don't know when,
right,
but from what they're telling me, I think they're going to do the Lincoln one first, see how that goes, even though it's longer. That doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
I guess they're going to fly into Vegas, drive from Vegas to San Francisco, because I guess there's two different routes on the Lincoln Highway where it
Right.
kind of splits.
right,
So they're going to fly to Vegas, take the north route to San Francisco, take the southern route back, and then drive the rest of the way back to New York, and then fly back from New York to Ohio.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they're
That's a lot.
insane. They're kind of crazy, but that's it's doable, I guess, allegedly.
great experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of fun.
Sure.
A lot of flat butt too, but yeah.
Right.
There's a Facebook group out there called Historic Route 66.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with geocaching.
Well,
But
right.
if you go there, you will see how many people are making plans or have made plans or are currently on Route 66 doing large portions of it or the whole thing. And my hope and what I need to figure out some way to do is to let them know about the adventure labs
Mhm.
to add to their itinerary
Right.
as they're doing the Route 66. I think that would be great for them. It would be great for GCHQ.
Mhm.
It would just be absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, such a great, cool idea, and such a memorable trip. I don't know if hopefully this is something we're going to actually talk about a little bit next week, and that is getting out of your comfort zone for some people and just driving. Stop and fill up, but just keep on going and just kind of experience something that I think many people have really not done. I don't know if it's a age thing or what it is, but I think that there are a lot of people. It may not be an age thing, but
No, I think it probably is.
What do you think?
No, I think it is. I mean,
You think it is?
I think it is because what was it? There was a line in actually cars. It said people used to drive. I'm trying to remember how it actually. People would drive to go someplace. Now people go someplace or drive. It's just they would drive just to get out to do the adventure. Now they just drive to get to it.
Right.
So that's just the way it is. It is. I do think it's an age thing because as our society changes, we just want to get someplace. We don't want to stop. I'm not talking me, but a lot of people don't want to stop to smell the roses. I used to tease before geocaching that I drove from Tampa to LA in 3 days.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. I used to say, hey, I never stopped to smell the roses because they're never in bloom. Well, guess what I get to do now? I get to stop and smell the roses,
right?
And I get to see these things. And it's like, I look back when I did that drive, I'm like, I missed so much stuff.
Yes.
When I just drove because I wanted to get there, and when I'm there, I'm there. But there's so much more that happens between that, and I think that's really cool. How the Lincoln Highway, the Route 66, these adventures will take you to these places because there's nothing like geocaching to get to see places that you never even thought of, and it's the locals that show, hey, this is cool. You got to go check this out. This is really neat. So, that's something that I think it is an age thing.
Well, it's not just the driving, because as my father-in-law would tell you, it's not the drive, it's how fast I can make the drive. It's like, that's not the point of this.
Yeah, it's the challenge to beat the time on the GPS.
Yeah, that's what he would do. But the cool thing about what you guys have done with the Lincoln Highway and Route 66 is that for good portions of it, you aren't going to be going real fast. And that's the point. The point is, and you want to stop and get the geocache along the way. You want to experience the whole thing. You don't want to just race around from one spot to another.
If I could, a little
Yeah.
history on the Lincoln Highway.
Yeah.
3 years after it was built, the Army decided, hey, let's see if we can use this to transport people and gear across the country. Is this important? And and they got bogged down in Nebraska. They got bogged down in Iowa.
Right.
And the person who was in charge of that was Lieutenant Colonel Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Oh, yeah.
Who coincidentally became president and was the person who signed the Interstate Highway Act. So he was directly influenced by his experience on the Lincoln Highway and also seeing the Autobahn in Germany.
Right.
We need to have a system that's like the interstate. And accidentally, or he destroyed, so many of these historic highways.
Yeah.
But has made. I mean, can you? I mean, okay, I don't want to go on the old age road.
Yeah.
But I can remember as a child, my dad and we would travel around the country, and we had the map. And you would drive the highways, and you had to have the map and you had to look at, US 40. Oh, turn right here at the bank. Turn left here.
Exactly.
And the highways, including Route 66, they were intentionally routed to go through downtowns, and of course the interstate bypasses it, and away we go. So, yeah, it is kind of an age thing.
I think if trying to look on the positive side of things is that now you have a couple different ways to get from point A to point B. If you want to use the interstate, and we do, I'm sure all of us do at various times. If you want to get to where you want to get to and want to get there, then there's that option. But you can also, fortunately, and I know parts of it are not there anymore, but I know that a lot of historical areas hopefully are going to be, or many of them have been fixed. I know Route 66, a lot of the iconic areas are gone, but there's still quite a few that are either have been renovated or have just hung on because of people who have experienced, the travel, and I like the fact that if anyone's been on the Route 66 nowadays, they've done a really good job of marking a lot of the highway with the Route 66 signs. And I think Lincoln Highway, same way, probably there's parts of it that are well marked so that you can really, take the time to experience some of those areas.
So I learned something today, Gary. A lot of it they're painted. Route 66 is painted on the highway.
Oh yeah,
because people steal the signs.
Oh man! Oh, because they're iconic.
Right.
Dang it.
Yeah.
People.
All right. Yeah.
But
anyway, but we definitely started. Kyle started a movement here.
Yeah.
And we've got Route 66 coming. Let's see. Transcontinental Keats 94 out of British Columbia. He's working with people in Ontario, including Lesnar Westy, who's in the chat room tonight in Cache Canada, and they're working on doing the Trans-Canada Highway, which is going to dwarf both of ours.
Sure.
In Europe, there's two. So I'm 75% done with mine. I'm thinking somebody should do this on California Highway 1.
Oh,
another iconic highway.
Yeah.
So since somebody should do it, I guess I'll do it. And so this week I've starting to contact people, and we have all of our not state coordinators, but all of our county coordinators. I have all the county coordinators for Southern California. If anybody's listening and they're in Northern California, Sonoma, Mendocino, San Francisco counties, please contact me, GSM X2 because I'm looking for county coordinators for those counties, and we're going to do this one too.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
There's another one I want to share real quick, and then we'll kind of get back to sort of maybe overall discussion. But the one that I was contacted, I know you guys are familiar with it as well, but Nancy Deadliest Casher sent me a note on this one, which is the there you go, it's the Erie Canal Adventure Lab Trail. There you go. And cool map out there. But there's a information that she's put together, and similar in that you can click on each one. You can kind of go in and take a look at the different ones on the Erie Canal Adventure Lab Trail. So just really neat things that everyone's doing. They are looking for more volunteers, by the way. So if you have an adventure lab and you're interested in that part, and she's got it well marked out as far as which ones she's got, which ones she still needs. So that's really cool. So she's telling, she has all the cities, which one is in progress, very well laid out, and very well thought out as far as getting it all, put together. So I have
they're asking for a link for that.
Oh,
Gary.
Yeah. I'll put it in the show. It's in the show notes. I'll put it in the chat room right now. And as I do that, I want to ask the team a couple things that I know I've thought of or have come up with, or as we were preparing for this. Did you have? I know LA did a bonus cache. Is that something that you discussed, or have you guys discussed with your team as far as, do you encourage it? Do you let it be up to the adventure owner, or what was the thought on the bonuses?
Go ahead, Casey. Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, hang on. Let me turn your volume up. All right, go ahead, buddy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
We got you.
With the
Oh, we lost him.
Oh my gosh, just like that, he was gone.
So I can go ahead and
go ahead, Scott.
Phil, I don't want to dominate this, but
no, you're fine.
Okay. So learning from, after I did mine, I did 7 of the Lincoln Highway adventures.
Okay.
And here's what I learned about bonuses. Don't do them like you do them around the town. Don't let the people collect one item at every stop and then find out where the final is. Did that twice. I'm traveling east to west. Mm-hmm. I get to the 10th one. So I've been collecting for 10. Right. And now I find out that the bonus is on the east end.
No.
32 miles or 19 miles away.
No.
So for Route 66 and for Highway 1, the information has to be at 1 or possibly 2 locations. And you have to have it within 2 miles of those locations.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
And the other thing, and this, I think Kyle got everybody on board with this one, they cannot be sequential.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So
right, they have to be doing in order, because we have to be able to do them west from east or east to west.
Right.
Yeah, because you can't assume that people are traveling a particular direction. I mean, you might think they're traveling a particular direction. They might not be. Right. So is that something, LA, that you kind of did, like for your bonus, did you have to kind of go back and think about it a little bit and figure out, okay, wait a minute. If I don't do this the right way,
I made it pretty clear on the lab the adventure part,
Yeah.
that it's suggested that you go from one direction to the other.
Right. Well, that's good.
If you do them in that particular direction, you'll land really close to the final.
Okay.
They are multi-directional, so you can go the other way.
Mhm.
But I try to point out, like, if you're going to do the bonus, you'll want to go this direction.
Sure. Yeah.
You can do it in any order you want. You can do it from the middle, but just be aware, if you
Yeah.
want the bonus, it's down here. It's just too close to my house to not put one down here. So.
Sure. Well, and I think a lot of people, you know, Kate's in the chat room. She mentions that she does not care for the sequential ones. Yeah, I've had bad experience with sequential, so I'm really a big proponent of not, because unless there's a real specific reason.
That's what I was thinking.
Is that what you're going to say, Derek?
Yeah, if there's a specific timeline in the story
maybe
that you're telling, that might happen. I mean, like if you're telling the story of somebody's life, and this is, they started here, and it's within like a block, you don't want to start off with a death and work backwards. You want to start off with birth or whatever and start through here, whatever happened. So that I understand that part, but like my Elvis one, I don't know where you're staying in town. Yeah, I don't know if you're close to Graceland at one point or if you're somewhere else. But one of the things I did, because Graceland was the furthest one out for me, on the way back, part of the video bonus when you get it was like a 20-minute video of Elvis on Graceland and stuff about that. So you get to listen to it as you drive to the next one. Was the reason why I did that the way I did. But I think, the sequential, if there's not a good reason to do it, don't. And that's, I agree with that. So,
Direwolf's saying though, if you force them to do it sequentially, that's a thought. I mean, you're telling them you got to do it in this order because I want you to be close to the bonus. But then again, that's kind of really not really for you to decide. I mean, I don't know. I think that's forcing people to do an adventure lab the way you want them to, but maybe they don't want to do it that way.
Right. But I totally agree with if you're doing a traveling on Route 66 or Lincoln Highway and you're going east to west and all of a sudden, wait, my bonus is like Scott said, 30 miles back behind me.
Yeah. It's kind of a bummer. You're
that's 60 miles round trip now that I got to go back and just get one little cash. I'm just going to keep going forward.
Right. Well, the ones that don't are going to be kind of miffed that you like made them go all the way back.
Yeah.
You know, and so,
especially with the price of gas now.
Yeah. It's kind of, problem. It's starting to become a little problematic, but so that's good. I'm glad y'all, I'm sure y'all thought through that, but I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah. I like that.
The other thing is that do you try to, I know for Lincoln Highway has, use a lot of the same icons. Did you try to make the descriptions with a certain format, or did you leave that up to the cache owners? And same with Scott, with you, because you've done both Lincoln Highway and Route 66. Did you encourage people to use certain icons, or did you kind of leave it willy-nilly?
I'm not sure what you mean by icons.
Well, like the logo, did you want them to use a particular logo for the picture?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. There is definitely, and same thing with the Lincoln Highway. There's, you go to the page, there's the graphic is the same on every single page.
Right.
Trying to implement a naming convention.
Right.
So it says, so it's historic Route 66 : and then this city's name - this city's name,
cool.
And then state. And then, gave a template that people can follow or not follow. So there's a certain feel for the as you do them all.
Yeah, you
have continuity,
the branding,
branding continuity. Yeah.
But also part of that too is I'm sorry, I was going to say real quick is just that it makes you feel like that, okay, I see this one. It's very much like the group. Therefore, I kind of have a confidence that they're done right and so forth. Like you said, you get, like UDAC said, there's a branding involved that like, okay, this isn't some, not that the random ones aren't necessarily bad, but that you don't know whether they're, you're not sure. You'd then have to go through and look at the stars and maybe try to figure out whether people are happy with it or not, or
if you bring up any of the Lincoln Highway, you're going to see that Lincoln logo
right.
with the state.
Cool.
And they did a really nice job with that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I guess we've kind of covered a lot. I know we Trans Canada Highway, I think, is really in the still in planning stages. I want to hear more about that one. Somebody mentioned, or it's in the show notes, about the John Hunt Morgan Heritage Trail was launched last month. Another option for people to work on. I know you're starting to work on Highway 1. I mean, the fascinating Yellowstone Highway.
Highway. Somebody contacted me this morning and said, "Hey, tell me about this. How do I get an adventure? How can I do this? And who's the contact?" So I gave him Jeff's email address, and Jeff on a different podcast said, "I'm going to continue to do these until they tell me to stop."
Yep, exactly. That's good.
So I would, if you have an interest, I would contact him soon, because but like I said, it's also meeting several goals for GCHQ. It's meeting the goal of spreading them out in different areas. It's meeting the goal of taking adventures away, not taking them away from geocachers. As Jeff said, he calls it an entrance drug. It's a way to bring people into, go to.
It's the starter drug for geocaching.
It's a starter drug for geocaching. You go into the visitor center at Iowa, and and you find a little three fold pamphlet that talks about adventures, or if I'm able to figure out how to get this into the hands of that historic Route 66 Facebook group. So they now have, when it's done, about 600 places to go to as they drive from Chicago to Santa Monica.
Yeah. Well, let's we'll take a moment. Let's go around the room and sort of do a quick wrap up. I'm going to start with Ian. Ian, I know you got a lot on your plate going on right now with GeoBash and lots of other things that you're working on. But what are your thoughts on these, and where do you think? Are you happy with where they've gone, and where do you think maybe we want to go from here?
I don't know. I think we're all crazy. But
that's true too.
No, I think it's super cool. And if I could I just want to say one quick thing. Going back to what Scott just said about, getting the Route 66 thing into the hands of those other people.
Right.
Kyle and I actually made contact. Kyle did, and got me in contact with the actual Lincoln Highway Association national headquarters.
Oh, cool.
And we're working on a project with HQ, with the Lincoln Highway Association, and Kyle and myself to actually make a Lincoln Highway Adventure Lab geocoin that we can somehow use as a fundraiser for the Lincoln Highway Association.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, that's cool.
We're doing some kind of it's still in the works, all the details of it, but we're doing some promotional stuff, like what Scott was mentioning, with the Lincoln Highway Association to get their members to go out and try this kind of stuff. They do an annual convention in Illinois, or I guess they do it all over the place, but I think they're supposed to be doing it in Illinois, in Joliet, I think, next year or this year. And they were talking about, hey, we're starting in New York and driving all the way to the middle of Illinois. We're gonna try to get some people to do this in their classic cars as they're coming across the Lincoln Highway. And I was like, hey, that's pretty darn cool. Let's get some new cachers coming. So
Absolutely.
That is cool.
yeah, I think that's the idea. Is it's a way to, like you said, the entry drug into geocaching. Maybe some of these people really enjoy the platform, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they really enjoy. Maybe they never get into geocaching. Maybe they only ever download the adventure app and play these adventures, but it takes them to, a different type of adventure. So
Right.
I think that's super cool. But I love Kyle, but I also hate Kyle at the same time because he we keep
That's
talking
still
about
fair.
him.
He's only in the
It's
chat room.
complicated.
Yeah. No, I know he can hear me. I know he's listening, but he by creating this original thing, like totally unintentionally, it's spawned all of these other babies. Everybody else's brainchilds are now coming to fruition, and
Right.
I think it's cool. I don't know, I have concerns that maybe it's going to end up being too much eventually, but again, you don't have to do them all, right? So it's just more experiences for people to do should they choose to.
Right.
And that John Hunt Morgan thing that I threw in the show notes, that was something that another cacher and I did as part of our Ohio Geocaching Association. The two of us went and basically did the entire trail across across Southern Ohio. It's 90 adventures across 90
Total.
locations in 9 segments.
Right.
That two of
Right.
us did over the course of a weekend. It was pretty insane.
Wow.
But yeah, that's all I got. Oh,
But memorable though, right? I mean, it's memorable.
yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I would never do it again because it got a little sketchy. It got a little sketchy down
it's
there.
like
But
ET Highway, you only want to do it once.
yeah,
but you won't forget it, right?
right. Hey, I want to say 2 other things too.
Yeah. Go for it.
Well, actually, hold on. I'm gonna show you the
Go ahead, show the back.
Lincoln
Yep.
Highway shirt.
Yay.
Oh, Lincoln Highway shirt. There you go.
Love the shirt.
There's Lincoln Highway shirts out there. Artedcrafted.com has shirts. If you guys are fans of the Lincoln Highway, pick up a shirt.
Yep.
Route 66 Adventures has it as well. That's available through urbantreecanopy.com. And I think those are the only 2 that I know of shirts for. There's probably going to be shirts for every one of these eventually, but so
Sure.
Anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
No, that's excellent. Yeah. Very cool. Let's go, Scott. You want to give us your thoughts, and then I'll go over to LA, and we'll kind of go that way.
Yep.
I have no further thoughts.
Okay,
you
said
guys said everything I want, and I can't figure out how to show you guys my Lincoln Highway shirt, but this is my Lincoln Highway shirt.
I like your shirt there with the logo. Well, thank you though. You have great info. So,
yes.
LA, kind of what are your thinking right now?
I just like the variety of different labs. I like that it takes you to places you've never heard of, and I like the history ones, but I also like when people get creative and tell a story, and maybe they introduce you to different parts of the show, and you have to watch the show like you were talking about, and it's very interesting the different things you can get. And I kind of like that it doesn't go against my stats other than a smiley. Because virtual kind of hurt it a little bit. Try and keep that 2-2. And I didn't bring my Route 66 shirt, but I just got that. And of course, I have to my in LA one.
Woo, yeah. Hashtag shirt. There you go. Awesome.
It's not Lincoln Highway, but
I'm still proud of the path tag. I love it. Little path tag love there. Yeah. Kyle said, I want to thank all 95 of the COs that helped create the Lincoln Highway Adventure Lab series. It was a great effort. I couldn't have done by myself. No, it was great. We thank you for that. So, Derek?
Well, I just want to Adventures, and I've seen it in the chat room, and y'all said just different ways to be able to tell the stories, getting these out there. I mean, it's just another way of like the gateway of drug for geocaching. I mean, yeah, it's great.
That's good.
I mean, there's different ways, and they're constantly evolving how to do these and trying to come up with new ways to be able to do these adventures. And geocaching, there's so many different types for however you want to cache. I mean, there's some people are the history buffs and they don't want to actually go find a physical cache, so they'll go and do an adventure. And they can. I mean, maybe trying to find geocaches in the urban area, they feel kind of creepy and dirty, and the people are looking at them weird. But if you're doing an adventure lab and you're looking out at different things, maybe how it might make them feel more comfortable. So that's really great. But it still stays in the DNA of geocaching, and it takes you on an adventure to get to a place. And I think that's really cool. And I love how the series, how people are coming together instead of just doing 5 adventures or 10 adventures. Now the entire story is over 1,000 adventures, 512 adventures, or whatever it is, or everybody's coming together as the community comes together, as the geocaching community does so many times, and works together. And I just think that's just really cool. And I just give you guys big kudos on putting all this together. And it's just really awesome. I just like it. I love it.
Yep, me too. You couldn't have said it better. In fact, I'm just gonna let you be the final word. So thanks everybody, and here we go.
May your finds be many and your DNFs be few. May the terrain and difficulty both be less than 2. And whatever it is you're looking for, may it find its way to you. And may we all meet again.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.
There we go. Good night, everybody.
Right, good night. Smash that like button.
Smash the like